I think my internal combustion engine, which runs hot, was really defined by the fact that my dad was a 6'3" football player, and I would end up being a 5'11" person. And I still remember being at a family reunion when I was about 4th or 5th grade. I'm already becoming aware that I'm not going to be 6'3", and a family member said, "Well, Charles, I hope you get to at least 6 feet tall." And I remember as a little guy going, I'm not sure I have complete control over that. But there was, in that sense, a literal trying to measure up from that point on. And I don't think it's any coincidence that I didn't choose football as my main sport, even though actually it was my first love, and I chose a sport that my dad didn't like, basketball. And then I became such an overachiever. I mean, I embraced challenge. I think it came from the fact that I was undersized. So I ended up being 5'11", could really jump, had long arms, played bigger than I was, but internally, man, I ran hot. I was a competitor, and that heat, I think to some extent was amped up being a church leader. And that heat that inspired a church burned my kids. And I wasn't aware of that. Like a lot of parents, I discovered that 5 minutes too late.
I think it was just taken for granted that I would be a point guard in college at Ohio State, that I would be a grad assistant, have a few years overseas or something professionally, but it always seemed a part of my life, and it was going to be a part of my life indefinitely. I don't suppose I felt external pressure, especially in my formative years. High school changes things. There's more people are affected by it, your performance. It got complicated, as most lives do, I suppose. You are, number one, transitioning from a boy to a man. That's complicated enough. But to have expectations, your own expectations and others' expectations, but I didn't have the tools to navigate that. And so I had to quit something, as most kids will find themselves when they're under such pressure and expectations. Something's got to give.
The fall of 2008 was, to that point, the worst day of my life, when after an open gym at Centerville High School, where it was clear Austin did not want to play basketball anymore. It was his senior year. It was a preseason open gym. I said, let's go talk. And I'll never forget the just reality is we're sitting there in the bleachers and he's crying and he goes, "Dad, I've been using drugs." And it was just out of the body.
My parents, they never sat me down and said, you know, you have to be great. And, applause means you're worthy. That never happened, but it was what I picked up on in their behavior, that what people saw us do mattered, that winning mattered, and that winning, especially in athletics, mattered a lot. So to me, that meant that's where the value was. That's where things were important, And I didn't fit in that. I really didn't. So I found my way to dance, and that was the main focus until I was about 21. It was all about dance. And it was exciting, and I could do it. I was living into it. But all of that against the backdrop of a belief system that was my worth is hanging in the balance here. I was in the BFA program at Wright State, in the dance program, but I was also dancing for a professional dance company in their second company downtown. It was a crazy schedule. It was get up at 7, study a little bit, get to the studio by 8:15, do a workout and a warm-up. Ballet was from 9:30 to 11. You had like a small break, and then you had either modern or jazz until 1. You had some space in there for academics, except that for those of us who danced in the company, we skipped those and we actually had to go do concerts in all the Dayton Public City schools. We did educational concerts. So it was put your bun in, put your costume on, and go perform on a gym floor for the next 4 hours. From there, we had about a half an hour to get some food, and we went downtown Dayton to take another ballet class, jazz or modern class with the company that was about 2 hours, and then rehearse until 10:30, to study for academic courses till 1 or 2 a.m. and get up and do the whole thing again. So it was a crazy schedule. It was so demanding. But there were a group of students who did it, and they did it. And I ended up on the bathroom floor with a blade in my hand, ready to be done. I didn't see a way out, so I found one.
The moment when I felt like there could be a redemption of our journey was especially when Austin started entering his own recovery journey. And I realized that there was a clear role that I played in that journey toward the need for recovery for both he and Jordan. But then I think conceptually. So I began to conceive of, with Austin, people tried to make him like me. Well, that means, man, we got to help kids understand their personality type. Austin, in the words of one of the tests we use, Austin was more of an otter, where I was more of a lion, and people tried to make him into a lion. And that was not his fuel. That's not why he competed. He competed because he was a great teammate. He just loved being with his buds. So there was that. And Austin was very visual, and Jordan was very kinesthetic. And yet, if they were taught by people one of Jordan's coaches tried to be very auditory. Austin's coaches tried to be very auditory, and he just needed you to show him, and his mirror neurons could kick in, and he could imitate that. I began to conceptualize that with the idea in mind of this. I don't want this to happen to any kids, and I think I can play a role in saying, learn from us. And so there was this real drive for redemption, not knowing at all. I was actually going to do it just with kids who played tennis at our tennis place. And then, of course, today it ended up being Players Box.
The thing that I'm most excited about with Players Box is to see the discussion of mental health not end with, I just quit, but I keep going. And there's something beyond simply stepping away, whether that be stepping away from one's sport, academics, or arts, or stepping away, unfortunately, from their own life. There's a better way. On the other side of that endurance, on the other side, a student's current circumstances is their greatest potential when they draw from the wealth that can come from, I believe, the resources that Players Box is providing.
What excites me about Players Box is I can't wait to see what these students can create. I really can't wait to be inspired by what they can do when they have the tools and the language to help them become more self-aware, to process their complexities and their pain in a safe community that's going to support them, that's going to love them no matter what. I can't wait for them to learn that performance, winning, losing, creating something great or not, it's all relative. It's just an outcome. It's just an outcome. I can't wait to see them discover those things and then create out of it and show us what they see.
The church was meant to be a place of healing in many ways. It's meant to be a place where we serve the world. And ministry happens when the intersection of God's love meets human need. And right now the human need is, it's not enough to just be a kid now. You got to be beyond competent. You got to be excellent in everything. You better be speaking a second language. You better be helping kids in a third world country. You better be doing SAT prep courses, and you might get in to Ohio State. Literally, there's no guarantee of that. In my day, you could get in there if you had a heartbeat. And so you have this scenario, and what we believe that by doubling down on Players Box, we're creating incredible intersection points. Where, one of our ex-student pastors said, I think it's the most effective student ministry I've ever seen, Players Box, because it doesn't ask kids to come to us and we'll teach you Jesus. It goes to where they are. And oh, by the way, you'll find Jesus through us. And that is still the best thing I've heard said about Players Box. It's exactly right. We're going to meet kids where they are. And because we have a track record now in the last 3 or 4 years of actually doing this, we think it's a worthy bet to double down on it. To say the need's there, the love of God works. Now let's see what happens.